Being no others, we'll raise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, first on our agenda, I'll ask Sue Weigel to come up and join us here at the table, please.
You're welcome.
Hello, Sue. It's kind of different for you to be on the other side of the table instead of on a board, commission, or committee that you have been part of many, many times tonight. But it's great to see you here, and hopefully with the proclamation we have in front of you, we're still going to continue to see your activities around town because you've done a great job for us. And, well, we appreciate everything that you've done.
Thanks.
Comments from the board? Mrs. Goodrich.
Thank you. Good evening, Mrs. Weigel. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
So it's hard, I was thinking back, and it's hard to believe that we go back 20 plus years. You were one of the first people I connected to when I began to get involved, when my children were young. I think I have a picture of a piece of literature with my son and you together, and it's been many, many years. And your commitment and dedication to the residents of Auburn, it's been so impressive. You've never been one to hold back, to change your opinion just because it's an unpopular opinion. You fight for what you believe, and I really, really respect that, and I appreciate all that you have done on all of the committees as a town meeting member, whatever area you served in. You did it with great distinction, great knowledge, and great commitment, so thank you.
Thank you.
So when you sit and read about anything, a piece of paper can only tell you so much. And while I'm impressed on the things that you've done, to go one step further, I've heard it firsthand from Mr. Ethier. You may be aware we spent a considerable amount of time together a few years back, walking the town borders, and we talked about a lot of things. And I can tell you that Mr. Ethier is someone I respect very much. So to hear him firsthand tell me of what you've done for the town, his admiration and respect, everything that was on paper just took a back seat to that. Thoroughly thankful for everything that you've contributed to the town of Auburn. It is just one of those things. Time is something you can never get back and never repay, and the people in this town will always owe you that debt, so thank you.
Thank you.
Well, Sue, I'd like to echo with what Mr. Simonian, Madam Chair, and Mr. Chairman have said. We go back, you've been a family friend for a long time. Your husband has given a lot to our town. You've given a lot to our town. And your daughters continue with education and teaching our young to do the same. And I thank you for everything you've done. I'd like to, however, say if you've watched any of the previous meetings, we were back and forth on a proclamation for Sue Weigel. I hope it didn't upset you. The fact was, we didn't want to give it to you because we don't consider you done. And I'm still hoping that with a couple of the agendas that we can still give you a jingle. And
Always.
And I'd be honored to work with you. But thank you to you and your family.
Thanks, Denise.
I wrote something down because I was a little nervous tonight because we don't know each other very well, but I've obviously respected you and respected your service for many years. So I do want to thank you for generously sharing your time and expertise. We as a town would be poorer if you hadn't involved yourself in town service. So I did want to talk a little about what Mrs. Brotherton just touched on. It has been suggested that by honoring your service, we are indicating you're retiring. For my part, I see this as a way to offer our thanks, congratulate you, and ask that you continue to serve. Auburn has been more interesting and enjoyed many successful years because of volunteers like yourself. From the expansion of Town Hall to the Auburn Historical Museum, you and your fellow board members have made this building more functional and reminded us of so many accomplishments of the sons and daughters of Auburn. We as a town would be poorer if you accepted this honor as a parting gesture. Auburn needs our volunteers more than ever. Please accept our gratitude and let it serve as a spark for you to continue on. Thank you again for everything you've done.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. And on that note, I'd like to give you a proclamation, Sue.
Okay.
Mrs. Goodrich, would you please?
Shouldn't there be fanfare?
The Town of Auburn Board of Selectmen proclamation. Whereas the Auburn Board of Selectmen wishes to recognize and acknowledge citizens for their service to the community, and whereas Susan J. Weigel has dedicated many years giving selflessly of her time and talents to the Town of Auburn, and whereas Susan Weigel has provided dedicated volunteer service on many committees, including the Auburn Youth Commission, Airport Access Committee, Town Hall Study Committee, Bylaw Committee, Historical Commission, Facilities Reuse Committee, and as an elected town meeting member for many years, and most recently on the Board of Registrars of Voters, whereas Susan Weigel's civic dedication and sacrifice are examples of a true citizen of Auburn and should be emulated by all citizens. And now, therefore, we, the Board of Selectmen of Auburn, Massachusetts, recognize and congratulate Susan J. Weigel for her tireless commitment and volunteer service to the Town of Auburn.
Say a few words.
Would you please?
Yeah, okay. First of all, thank you so much, all of you, for allowing me to have this award. There's so many deserving people in town that have done equal or more things than I have. I want to thank my family that came tonight, my sisters, Ruth and Linda, my daughters, Michelle and Valerie, my granddaughter, Zoe, my soon-to-be niece-in-law, Min Jong Kim, and Rod Flakes, my brother-in-law, Rod Flakes. And did I get everybody? Yeah. So thank you to them for coming. It's quite an honor. I accept it wholeheartedly, so thank you very much. And you're not done with me yet.
Thank you.
Yes.
We would like to see you initiate the gold watch for retirement.
Really?
So when that becomes a reality.
Okay.
Is there anybody in the audience who would like to get up and say anything? Yes, Mr. Ethia, come forward, please.
Thank you. Doreen more or less said what I was going to say about Sue doing what she thought was best for the town, whether or not it was an easy thing. Sometimes things aren't as easy as they could be, and I can say that Sue put her heart in anything that, with the Historical Commission, that's where I have my first-hand information on. And we had a Board of Directors meeting just tonight at the museum, and as I was walking out, many of you have seen the maps that you can go through the years, and you can see the town from Revolutionary time up until current time, and the changes that have been in the town. And I thought of Sue. That's one of the many things that she actually put together, and I'm sure there's countless other things you've done, Sue, but I personally would like to just thank Sue. And Sue's a great person, and I feel that I was lucky to serve with her on the Historical Commission. Thank you.
Thanks, Ken.
Thank you, Kenny. Is there anybody else who would like to get up and say anything? Sue, thank you so much for being here tonight. It's great to have you here, and we look forward to seeing you in the future.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sue.
Okay, can we have a 3-minute recess?
Motion to recess?
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
No one did.
Call the meeting back to order.
Did anyone remember?
I'd like to move up item 6C.
I'll make a motion to move up Town Manager item 6C, request from Fire Chief for board vote to declare 1995 tower truck as surplus property.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed? Okay, we have a note here from September 18th to the Board of Selectmen. Dear Board, I am requesting that you declare the Fire Rescue Department's 1995 Sutphen Tower truck as surplus property so that we may dispose of it. And they log the VIN number here also. Our new 2015 Sutphen Tower has arrived and has been placed into service. If you have any questions, please feel free to contact me. Sincerely, Stephen M. Coleman, Jr., Chief of the Department. Can I have him? Yes, Mr.
Chairman, can we just invite Chief Johnson up to sit with us? Just in case there are any questions, and he took the time to come, so we should at least give him some screen time.
Good evening. Is there a motion?
I would make a motion that we declare it the 1995 tower truck as surplus property.
I'll second that motion.
There's no questions. I'll entertain a vote.
Just like that.
The motion been made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? It's a vote.
Thank you
for
very
coming,
much.
Chief.
Thank you.
Have a nice evening.
Chief, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Okay.
Okay. And the next item on the agenda I'd like to move up is item 6A, update on municipal aggregation plan.
I'll make a motion to move up agenda item 6A.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Thank you. And
Thank you.
I'm sorry.
Oh, that's okay.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr.
Ms.
Chairman.
Jacobson, please.
And I can introduce, if we would like to invite Brian Murphy, who is the president of Colonial Power, and Matt Benoit, who's our town planner, to join us up here at the table. In your packets tonight, you have a brief written update on very exciting news. So for those of you who haven't seen the packet, on September 17th, so a little over a week ago, about 10 days ago, the Department of Public Utilities released an approval to the town of Auburn to move forward with its municipal aggregation plan. And I have to say, we are thrilled that we were able to move it through the state approval system so quickly. It went through the Department of Energy Resources and the Department of Public Utilities truly in record time. I think this is about 3 months. And I truly, I want to thank everyone involved, our consultants at Colonial Power, and Brian Murphy and his team have been spectacular to work with, and Matt Benoit, the town planner, and Eric Lesperance, all the work they've done. And I really want to make sure that we thank our legislative delegation, Representative Paul Frost and Senator Michael Moore, because they advocated to move this process through. And last but absolutely not least, I want to make sure we thank the state. That I've had several conversations with the Department of Environmental Resources, and they've been wonderful. And I think truly everybody just working together was able to push this forward. And most importantly, we answered all the questions. You know, we gave them the information that was needed. Colonial Power put together a phenomenal aggregation plan, and they were great consultants to us because they knew what the state was looking for, and they included it in that plan. So with that being said, I want to turn it to Brian to explain a little bit about what this means, what the next steps are, and what this means for the resident and commercial taxpayer in Worcester, in Auburn. Oh, I just looked at something down on my note.
That's all right. I go to so many of these meetings sometimes, I don't know what town I'm in sometimes. But I'd like to start by saying I was here back in May for a public hearing on the aggregation plan that the town eventually submitted to the Department of Public Utilities. And at that time, I let you know that of all the towns we've ever worked with, and we've worked with dozens, this town did more homework on this process than any other. And it's a tribute to the folks who work for you that are sitting here with me tonight. You know, Matt and Julie and Eric has gone. They worked tirelessly to make sure that everything they did to get to that point was done perfectly. And it made our job that much easier. You know, when we submitted essentially a flawless plan, it's because we were able to lean on these folks here, and they were very responsive when we had questions for them and meetings for them to attend. So we were just as, we were surprised but not shocked when the DPU approved it so quickly. We knew we had done everything right, but we figured the state was just going to do what the state sometimes does and sit on things for a while. But the legislative delegation pulled through. The open communication between the town and ourselves and the various state agencies just created sort of a little warmth and good feelings amongst everybody that the process was approved much quicker than we thought possible. And that's great news because it puts you in a position to make sure that your residents and businesses don't get hit by winter rates again. And that's what this process was all about. When you started this process last year, you saw the tsunami of electricity pricing coming, and the wind and energy sustainability team got on the ball and started to look for consultants. And here we are getting ready to try to get you some pricing for Ms. Jacobson to review and to execute upon if she thinks they're good to save people money this winter. So it's great news that the state has given you the green light to go ahead and get out to market, and it's our intention to put a bid out into the market early as next week and get pricing back to Julie so she can review it. And if she likes it and executes it, the next step from the point of view of the residents and businesses in Auburn will be that there will be a piece of written communication that comes to every ratepayer's home or business. And it says right on the envelope, you know, this is from the town, this is important, don't throw it away. And it'll have information about the program, comparative rates between the towns and the utilities, and the opt-out process, which was another thing we talked a lot about at the public hearing. So we want to make sure people are crystal clear on what's going to happen and how they can decline the program should they so desire. And after that, you know, we're going to come back here probably at least one more time. We're going to go to the Energy Committee again in October, and we'll probably schedule, you know, at least one other event for the public to come and ask questions if they want. And then the power will flow with the November meter reads, and it'll show up on people's December bills. So it's, you know, only late September now, so it's still a ways away, but that's when it really hits home for people, when they open their bill and they see a new supplier listed on their National Grid bill with a new rate.
Through the chair, if I may, and ask Brian to explain it. One thing that we want to make clear is municipal aggregation is not a guarantee of lower prices, and I think it's important that the residents understand that. It's every effort will be made, and this is a tool and a vehicle to achieve lower prices, but with anything, there is no guarantee of those prices, and we don't ever want to make a promise that there will be lower prices. It is a market-driven process, and those prices we are hoping will be lower because of what we're doing, but we're not ever going to promise that the prices will be lower until we actually get the real prices. And I think we want to be clear on the town side, and I know Colonial's been clear too. Some other communities have gone before DPW and been rejected for the reason that they're telling their residents that this is a money saver. There's no way you can't save money. That's not what we're trying to say. This is a great option for people, and it may be a great money saver. I think the key to municipal aggregation, and we've said it in other meetings, so if I'm saying it wrong, please help me out here, it's consistency in pricing, not necessarily lower pricing all the time. So if you lock in at a certain rate, while those rates will fluctuate during the year, we would have the ability to have residents lock in at a certain rate versus riding that wave of volatility throughout the year. And hopefully that rate will be lower. Is that, am I saying it right?
Yeah, that's a very fair statement. You know, the programs like these are best when they aim for rate stability and to avoid the price shocks that have lately been coming into New England every winter. It is a goal, and based on where the market is right now, I can safely say that whatever rate we bring you will be lower than the upcoming National Grid rate, but National Grid's rates change in the summertime, and I don't know what they're going to look like then. So there's no crystal ball for this, but the town makes every effort to design a rate that offers residents and businesses some stability and savings whenever possible, and we're very careful not to make an explicit guarantee that you're always, always, always going to be underneath National Grid. That's just simply impossible. If I could do that, the old saying is I wouldn't be here, so I think that's a good point to make, and it's something that is explicitly stated in the communication that goes home.
This is one of the things we've been looking at right along, and I made sure that each meeting or every other meeting at least, we have some kind of a reminder, something so that the public knows exactly what's coming, and this is going to be a great help for us. You've been here before. We've had a meeting at the high school with a lot of questions were asked about the electrical system, the distribution, the rates, what have you. And it's all going to move around a little bit because, as you say, the market can fluctuate one way or another. But we really appreciate you coming here tonight to bring some more information to us. And when you're coming back to see us again towards the end when we start to, approve the rates, then you know what, that'll be a lot more information for the public. A reminder again saying that, something's coming to you. Please don't throw this away. This is going to help you, and we'll see what we can do to do that.
Thank you. Yeah, we are, by contract, we're obligated to update the town whenever required. So I want, the board and the administration to hold us accountable for our end of the bargain. If there's something you want, you call, then we come out. That's our job.
Thank you.
My pleasure.
Anybody from the board? This is Goodrich.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just also want to state that this process has gone extremely well, extremely professional, and I thank you, Brian, for acknowledging the efforts of the town and specifically the town employees, because it was clear that, a lot of work went into this. So thank you for that acknowledgement.
Yes, Mr. Carpenter.
Well, this is excellent news. I want to thank the administration, the planner, and the assistant town planner, green energy manager. But we would be remiss. We're missing one piece of the puzzle, is the wind turbine and alternative energy committee. And I regret that Mr. Platoukis isn't here tonight. He certainly was a great advocate for this. So we owe that committee a great deal of thanks. In addition to our delegation and our state officials. With that in mind, I did want to make a motion that we send a letter of gratitude to Representative Frost and Senator Moore, as well as Secretary Beaton and the Governor's office for their help on this matter.
Will you put that in the form of a motion?
That would be my motion.
I'll second that.
Okay. Sharon, have you got that motion? Okay. Motion's been made and seconded to send a letter of... is there any other questions or comments? Yes, Mr. Simonian.
So how often will we be looking at these auctions, as you called it, and purchasing power in a calendar year?
It's likely no more than once. It's possible we'll do it more. We'll really take direction from the administration as to how they want the rates and the bids structured. Okay. It's probably, my advice at this time would to do at least a one-year fixed rate, and then come back again next year and take a look at things next fall. It's possible to do, given where the market is right now, which is future energy prices are actually a little cheaper than current energy prices. Usually there's baked-in inflation, prices are always higher on the future, but currently it's backwardated and the market is a little low in the future, so you could actually do a 2 or 3 year fixed price. That's a little, in my opinion, that's a little too much to bite off if you're just starting out a program like this. You don't want to do a 3-year deal right out of the gate, but it wouldn't be, we're not going to be coming here every month with, updates on rates, or even every 6 months. My recommendation is to out of the gate to do at least a 1-year fix to get the rate stability that you're seeking, and then we'll reevaluate it this time next year.
Once you do this, it's a 1-year contract with whoever it is that we're purchasing the energy from?
That's right. Yeah, the town will entertain bids from suppliers who are interested in serving the people of Auburn, and whoever it is will probably do a 1-year deal, and that energy company will be listed on the National Grid bill as the supplier.
So if there, well, let me ask this. Is there a specific time of the year that this is typically done?
There's no best time of year. Generally speaking, when National Grid service territory, their rates change every November 1st and May 1st. And the auctions that determine those rates are held the second Wednesday of September and the second Wednesday of March. So we try to be in the market at the same time because that's kind of like our price to compare, for better or for worse.
Okay.
We always keep that rate in mind. So we're generally in the market at the same time as them.
All right, and so if there isn't a better rate than National Grid, then that's what the town will be going with, whatever theirs is at that time. So I'm not, just because I'm not completely understanding, I guess, or hoping for an explanation. If that time comes, and there's other opportunities during the year, if at that current time there isn't a better rate than what National Grid has, are we locked into that? Since you said we'd just be using whatever National Grid is. If there wasn't a better rate, could we then, maybe a few months later look at it again?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, if we bring back pricing that isn't satisfactory, i.e. in this case, lower than what we know National Grid is going to be in November, then you just do nothing until the pricing's better.
Okay.
It's like having you get a gun in the holster, but you don't have to pull it out.
Okay,
I mean?
no, that's why
Yeah.
I appreciate the clarification. So we're looking at, this is basically across the country type of suppliers, or how is that?
They're regional players. You have to be
Regional, okay.
licensed to do business in the state of Massachusetts, and not every energy company is. Most of those, the big giant energy companies all have a retail branch, if you will, here in Massachusetts. Some of them are interested in serving residents and small businesses, and some of them aren't.
Okay.
So it's a mix. We have some small suppliers that are based in Connecticut and here in Massachusetts, and others that are big companies based out of Chicago and Baltimore, places like that.
And just one last thing. So considering that the current trend is to switch a lot of, coal is going away because there's just so many issues with coal.
Yeah.
and the regulations and such. And I know that right now the trend is to go towards natural gas. Mm-hmm. Is that typically a predictor? Because I know in Massachusetts, that's one of the reasons why we're kind of higher. We are predominantly natural gas, and we fluctuate with the price of that,
right,
since that's what's used to power those plants or to generate electricity.
Yeah.
Is that a trend that we kind of follow there? Or?
Yeah,
Okay.
that's one of the reasons these aggregation programs are gaining traction and popularity, is because people are sick of that being held hostage to the natural gas market, which in New England the supply market always tightens because of weather.
Right, okay.
And that drives price up. And so we're trying to find ways to create rate stability, and we're always looking for ways to, and it's odd that we have to do this, but we're pushing the retailers to create new products for customers like you. They'll if you ask them for a price, they'll just go, well, they go to the market and they take the rack rate and they go, here you go. And it's a mix of coal and nuclear, natural gas, and some renewable. And they do it brainlessly. And we say, no, we want 100% green. And they go, well, that's expensive. We go, well, make it hydropower. That's not expensive. And that way, we're getting a product that isn't tied to the natural gas market, and we can get something that's carbon-free. Might not have been built yesterday, and it might be coming from Canada, but at least it's a step in the right direction. And so those are the types of things that we're trying to push the suppliers to get creative in what they can offer the town, to create that rate stability and offer a different mix of fuels.
Okay, thanks for the clarification.
welcome.
I appreciate it.
My pleasure.
Okay, there's a motion on the floor. Sharon, have you got the motion for us, please?
Send letters of gratitude to Rep. Frost, Senator Moore, Secretary Marini, and Governor's Office for their assistance.
Okay. Did everybody get that?
I didn't hear it all.
All right. Sharon, could you repeat that for us, please?
Sure. Motion to send letters of gratitude to Representative Frost, Senator Moore, Secretary Marini, and the Governor's Office for their assistance in the approval process.
Okay, the motion's been made and seconded. Is there any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Thank you. Now to the town manager. Question. Our next meeting is going to be on October 13th. Will we have any numbers from the market then? Will we have any discussion, have any idea of where we're going to be?
Through the chair, I'm going to have Brian Murphy answer that. He and Matt met last week and mapped out somewhat of a timeline, so.
Yes, thank you. By Tuesday, the 13th, we should have, Julie should have seen and executed. If the pricing's good, it'll be a done deal, and we'll present, the new pricing for you at that time. That's a great goal to have. I think it's a perfect timeline because your meter reads are in mid-November, so it gives that 30-day window of opportunity for people to get their mail and make their decision. And so, thanks. We'll definitely be here for that.
Great.
And through the chair, if I may add, in addition to the mailing that goes out, and I think this is one of the reasons that DPU liked our approval, you can see it in the letter, we've gone above and beyond on the outreach to make sure people understand what's going on through the committee, all the work they did. And what we want to do, continuing to inform the public, we want to make sure we get this on Auburn Community Television, through our local media outlets, Telegram and Gazette, as well as Auburn Mass Daily. They've been great in covering this, and also on our social media and website. So we're going to go beyond that letter and make sure that through your work here on the committee and on the board as well, letting people know through this meeting and every other source that we have available to us that this is coming. We don't want anyone to miss it.
So October 13th, we'll be sure to have that on the agenda. We'll have some information back there on the agenda for that night. Mr. Simone.
Just one last quick question. I know you already discussed the letter that's going out. Is there also, like, will people have the opportunity, if they don't understand, is there like a customer service or something?
Oh, yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
perfect.
That's a great point. It's our number.
Okay.
You're not calling halfway around the world. It's a 50-50 chance you'll actually talk to me. So
I'm sure folks will appreciate that.
That's good. Thank you.
Okay. Is anybody else got, Mr. Carpenter?
As I said, we were somewhat remiss by not mentioning the committee, so I'd just like to make a motion that we send a letter of gratitude to the committee, thanking them for all their efforts, researching it, putting together all of this, and we really do need to thank our volunteers as well.
Second.
Any questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. And, okay.
And through the chair, just so, we were very excited when we found this news out. So around 10 p.m. the night that we heard this, I did send emails to all of those involved, thanking them. I sent an email to the legislative delegation, DOER, and a few other people who I know had gone to bat for us. So we'll make a formal letter from the Board of Selectmen as well. But we didn't want to wait too long to at least get the word out. We were thrilled that so many people stepped up to help us.
Great. Matt, would you please?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Again, just to echo what Mr. Carpenter said about the Alternative Energy Committee and the tireless work and efforts that they provided, I just would like to give their names for the record. Bob Platukas, Maureen Daly, Jack Barkas, Jeff Mitchell, and Dave Delagorgendier. And the hard work that they put in, they actually met earlier today at 5:30 and provided another public forum of a televised meeting to let our citizens know of this program. So the efforts that they've put forth for our town have been unfathomable, and I greatly appreciate it for one.
Thank you for recognizing them.
Yeah, and through the chair, I should follow up. Matt's making a good point, and as is Mr. Carpenter. Mr. Patukas is not here this evening and was not at the meeting earlier today, but at the last board meeting, for those who recall this, he had stood up and made a note that he was leaving the committee. Yes. So we did get his official letter of resignation. He'll be leaving the committee, and we did post that seat. So there is an available seat to be on this committee, and we encourage residents to put their application in for this.
Thank you. Has anybody got anything else?
Thank you.
Thank you both very, very much for your time tonight.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, we have no communications. In the Board of Selectmen general items, we have the October 27, 2015 special town meeting warrant in front of you. And tonight, we are just going to approve the warrant, and we will have it for 2 weeks. On October 13th, we will be voting on the recommendations. So you'll have a chance to read through it. take a look and see if you have any questions, and be prepared to ask some questions on the 13th when you come in, and we'll make our recommendations at that point. I understand that the Wednesday Finance Committee this week will be voting on their recommendations for the warrant, so it would be great for us to hear what they have to say, and then we can go along and do ours on October 13th.
The chair, that meeting on the Finance Committee has been confirmed for October 7th. They couldn't get a quorum for this week.
Okay, so October 7th is going to be there, so it'll be still a week before our meeting here.
Thank you.
So we will take care of that, but I need a motion to approve the warrant.
I'll make that motion.
Okay.
Motion's
I would
been
have
made.
done it, but go right ahead, Madam.
Yeah, no, I meant motion to approve the warrant.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Thank you. Okay, the next we have on the agenda is discussion and potential vote on the remote participation. There was some information that was requested by Mr. Carpenter, and that should be some information here in your packets. Is there any questions on what was received from information from Matt Benoit, our town planner, and from Deb Grimo, our town clerk?
No, I just want to thank them for letting us know and putting in, I know, a lot of effort to let us, in a short time frame, to let us be prepared tonight to discuss the potential, if nothing else.
Well, I'll open the, up to the board, see if there's any questions, comments.
I don't know if Doreen wants to go first, or...
I know that we've had some discussion on this at some point before, and we brought this back here tonight so we'd have some information from the town clerk and from the town planner regarding some of the meetings and some of the information forward. And tonight we were hoping to either make a motion to send it to our subcommittee, or have it defeated altogether and then we can just move on. So it's, I'm going to leave it up to the board to decide what they want to do. Mr. Simonian.
I don't understand why those would be our only two options. Why would we be looking to send it to a subcommittee or defeat it? Why not approve it?
Because the town manager had drafted a proposal for us, and there's been no discussion on that proposal draft. So I want to be sure that there is some communication between board members here before and have some discussion on what that draft entailed. And maybe it's something we don't want to approve in total, just as drafted. There may be some questions, concerns, maybe some revisions you want to make to it. So I'm just throwing that out for what the board would like to do.
Do we have a copy of that?
Through the chair, I submitted it to the board, I believe, at the last meeting, or two meetings before that?
Yeah, it was scanned and sent to them, too.
Yeah, it was also scanned and sent electronically to the board. Tonight's packet just contains the follow-up information that the board voted for us to provide to you on top of what was provided at the last meeting. And Mr. Simone, we're happy to get you another copy if for any reason you need another copy, but it was scanned.
I mean, if someone could just give me a recap. I was unavailable due to work obligations for the last meeting. So,
You can have our copy.
I mean, I've pretty much stated that I'm in favor of allowing it.
Again, this is a forum to discuss any revisions that you might want to make, or make any changes. It was a draft proposal, and it was requested by this board from Ms. Jacobson to do that, and so we were hoping to be prepared tonight to discuss this. Mrs. Goodrich.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So we have pretty detailed recommendations for conditions being placed on it. And as we just approved the warrant, we also have in the town warrant a provision for an alternate member of the planning board. So I would recommend, because it's not that far off, October 27th, I would recommend that we hold off taking any action on the remote participation to see if, first of all, town meeting votes to approve alternate members, and whether or not town meeting votes to approve alternate members may have a bearing on what we want to advise for conditions. My thoughts on the conditions that we may or may not approve may change if we have alternates or if we don't have alternates. And like I said, where we have it on the town warrant for October 27th, which I believe is a Tuesday, I would make a motion that we not take any action till our first meeting after the town meeting held on October 27th to see what action town meeting takes on the alternate.
Well, second for discussion, because I would like us to discuss it before.
Motion been made and seconded. Mr. Carpenter.
You know, I understand there's some resistance to this, and I get that. I'm not entirely comfortable with it either. I've heard a couple times about a 2011 vote of the board. This is a totally different Board of Selectmen. We're not held accountable to the prior board's decision. And I think any of us up here would admit that at one time we may have undertaken a project and thought one way, and a few years later, we've come to find that we have rethought it. So I don't have a problem with the motion per se. I don't support sending it to the subcommittee because I think the town manager gave us a tremendous document to work on, also in very short time. So I'm very grateful for all of her work and the staff's work to get us something that really is a strong document. I did see the planning board meeting last week, was it, Matt? And I know that one member was concerned somewhat about the restriction to 2 per fiscal year, and I myself would be sympathetic to maybe loosening that up a little, not a lot, but maybe give them 3. I do think this is something that is the wave of the future. It should not be used as a means to, as the Attorney General's literature will tell us, to avoid attending meetings. This is for an emergency or, God forbid, an illness that prevents people from being able to physically attend the meeting. So I would like to support a trial, as the manager has recommended, for a year, because I think we should, these numbers of absences are a little skewed. The planner did mention that one of the members had a serious illness that prevented that person from attending. So 22 absences looks pretty bad, but obviously, if you don't know the whole story, the numbers don't tell the whole story. So,
Mrs. Goodrich.
That's my piece.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So just for clarification, my motion was not a recommendation to send it to the subcommittee. It was just to hold it until after town meeting. And I'll just mention the alternate again. If town meeting approves having an alternate member for the planning board, I'm one vote, I would look to put a condition on that if an alternate is available, then remote participation not be allowed at that time, because it's to me, you're asking a volunteer to serve as an alternate, but then you're saying, well, we're not going to use you because we've allowed remote participation. So I'd like to see if, a clause in there, if, again, pending on the action that town meeting takes, whether they approve an alternate member or not, could, and I would be happy to write up something to include in those conditions that were recommended. But I would just prefer to wait until after town meeting to see what action is taken on the alternate and then move forward. And I'm not necessarily opposed to remote participation. I just want to make sure we do it right because it affects all committees.
Thank you, Mrs. Goodrich. Mr. Simonian.
So I'll start first with Mr. Carpenter's comments. I know the last time we talked about this, there was some discussion about the previous motion. So I actually went and looked at how to handle that, and according to Robert's rules, the motion that was made cannot be, it would actually have to be rescinded. There would have to be a vote to rescind that motion because it was made within a certain time frame. So I thought to the opposite based on what I initially read, but that wasn't the case. So we would have to make a motion to rescind that earlier motion that was 2011, I believe. That's number one. Number two, I just don't understand, and I'm really hoping that the members of the board who want to make this so restrictive can make me understand why we would do that. I mean, are we not trusting people? Are we afraid that there's going to be abuse? Because my feeling is, why not just implement it? I mean, the technology is there, but sooner or later, we have to embrace the fact that it's 2015 and other towns all over the country are using technology to benefit the residents of their city or town where it's available. I see this as an opportunity to do that for the people of this town. If we have someone, and we've heard so many arguments to the positive of, if we have people who are willing to volunteer their time, and for whatever reason, I know that the case that was brought before us was that there were times when that gentleman who proposed it is not in the state. So if we're going to restrict it to town buildings, then to me that seems, I don't know, it just doesn't make sense, because if they can make it to another town building, then why can't they just make it here? You know, I mean, I don't understand why we would. Section 2 doesn't really make sense to me. Remote participation only allowed in public buildings and public schools, because if they can make it to another town building, then they certainly can make it to the town hall.
Through the chair, if I may.
Yes, Ms. Jacobson.
That's an incorrect interpretation. That refers to the meeting itself, not where the location of the member who's missing. The location of the member who's missing, they have to follow under state guidelines, which is in there as minimum criteria. That has a set of criteria. I don't have it in front of me, I'm sorry, but there's a set of criteria that has to be met, including potential for geographic distance, illness. There are special circumstances that have to be met. That particular comment, that refers to where the meetings would be held. So a meeting, in other words, you could have a meeting of a committee, but you can't have it in a non-town building. It still has to be in a public building. It can't be held at someone's house.
No, I understand that.
Well, that's what that means.
The way that it's worded, though, it says remote participation shall only be allowed in public buildings and public schools in rooms with town-issued phones and speaker. It specifically says remote participation. It doesn't say the actual meeting. So to me,
The meeting is, that entire thing, when you go through it and you read the language, the entire thing refers to the specifics of how to hold a remote participation meeting and under what criteria. It's not for the... there are criteria in there that specifies what the member needs to do, and then there's criteria in there that specifies what the committee needs to do. It means any meeting that's being held remotely has to be held in a town-owned facility. It could be a school facility, it could be a town-owned facility, and it has to be with public telephones. I should say you can't use private devices, and that is that's all for transparency purposes. I will tell you, and I mentioned at the last meeting, and I apologize for those who did hear, but I'm happy to repeat it. When the board asked me to look at something, I looked at probably 10 or 12 different towns that had done policies. And Mr. Simone, while many communities have adopted this, absolutely they have, most of those communities have also adopted a specific policy related to remote participation that allows those communities to ensure a transparent process for the public. That's the only reason they put restrictions. The restrictions are there to benefit the residents, so people feel that they know the person who's participating remotely is transparent, they know where they are, they know who's sitting with them, they know what they're seeing, they know that they're seeing all the information that's given to them, especially on regulatory boards and commissions. So this language was taken from best practices from a number of different communities, including a law firm that I had gotten in touch with that had come across a remote participation that they were using as a statewide model.
I understand. I mean, do we have to do everything that everyone else does? I mean, to me, this is so restrictive, there's no point in even having a policy.
Again, that's what the discussion was tonight, and if there's some discussion on the board, we could send it to the subcommittee and let them revise it, fine-tune it, take suggestions from board members as they wish. Yes, Mrs. Brotherton.
For a personal thought of myself, there are times when I have missed meetings. For those who don't know, I do have multiple sclerosis, and I do have exacerbations. And I have to be honest, if I'm not at a meeting because of my MS, I don't want people to have to listen to me if I'm struggling. I feel as though I'm due some sick time. If it's legit, I feel as though I'm due some time. That being said, I'm not quite sure if the illness is maybe a broken leg in a rehab. That might be a different circumstance. On another note, and I hope I'm not doing anything against you, Mr. Simonian, you had indicated that you were away on business. Mm-hmm. Okay. When you were away on business, would you have been able to participate?
Not that night, I wouldn't have,
Okay.
but that doesn't mean there wouldn't be other times.
Okay. But I'm just saying, so that also might be a possibility that if you are away or unavailable to be at the meeting, I'm not quite sure, once again, it'd be the circumstance, if you could still even participate, whether it was out of state or not. If you're not there at a meeting, there could be a solid reason why you are not participating. And I'd like to see some more information, I think, myself.
Okay. Mr. Simonian.
Yeah, I mean, again, we don't write laws or policies for trying to cover every potential situation that could arise. I mean, that's just an endeavor that's a waste of time. Mm-hmm. And I don't mean that sarcastically. I mean, seriously, think about this. You could sit here and what if this to death? I'm mm-hmm. sure that all of us could probably come up with about 5,000 scenarios off mm-hmm. the top of our head where what if this happens, what if that happens, and by the time you finish writing that policy, it's obsolete when it hits the paper. So, yeah, I mean, there's going to be trials and tribulations with everything, and that's where you tweak laws. Mm-hmm. And, you know, a case arises that, you know, you didn't foresee. No one can predict mm-hmm. the future. So, but if you don't have a policy and you don't, you know, the case that was made, I think is compelling that Mr. Rothra made. And if the opportunity doesn't exist, then you've handcuffed people who are in situations like that, or potentially mm-hmm. limited the pool of people who would volunteer, because you may have the people who would say, wow, you know, if I could do that a couple of times a year, mm-hmm. I could make the majority, you know, whatever. I mean, so why limit it? Why just not say, hey, we have the technology, let's embrace it, and okay, this happened, we didn't foresee that, we're going to change the policy so that it covers that. Otherwise, you know, it's like, you know, trying to design a power plant that's never going to fail. It's an impossible task, and by the time your design is done, you spent millions of dollars on something that's never going to be implemented. So that's just my thought. I'm not trying to argue. I just think that, you know, in 2015, it's time we started embracing some of the technology that's available to us.
Before I get back to you, are there any concerns that you have with, you know, for 1 year to use this? And
No, not at all. And you know what? Here's my philosophy. It's pretty simple on most things. Look, you give people the opportunity. Somebody abuses it. The state, open meeting, all of them have made it pretty clear what's going to happen to someone who violates open meeting, someone who abuses. Look, this is clear. We do something like this, and this is a privilege, and this board has the authority, as quickly as we could implement this. If it's abused, we could take it away, and that would be across the board to, sorry, hey, we know it was only this committee or this person who did it, but we're taking it away because it's been abused. You know, I mean, I say let's treat adults like adults. Give them the opportunity to do the right thing. If they don't, then, you know, there's reasons for why people get punished. And that's just my philosophy. It's pretty
Rather than
simple.
for us to not get you, Mr. Carpenter.
I was, excuse me, Mr. Carter. I was just thinking that I thought with our process when we interviewed prospective people to come to our boards, that we were really trying to, that was one of our questions, was making sure, you know, did they have any time constraints or did they foresee any issues, you know, being able to come to the meeting? And I believe, if I can speak for all of us, we were kind of hoping that once we get that answer, it would help, you know, on making a decision. Just a thought.
I don't disagree. I don't disagree at all. But I think I think the point you made answers.
I'm sorry,
I'm
Mr.
sorry.
Carpenter is up. Please.
I just wanted to
My
say
apologies.
that- No, that's okay. I'm not afraid of doing it. What I do know from experience serving on a land use board is if you can't see the plans and you can't see the material, again, this is an exception. That's how the state set it up. It's not that we're trying to restrict it. The state is giving us the guidance that this is an exception. And we can't guarantee that anybody with remote participation can hear everything that a consultant says, can see everything a consultant says, because a lot of times on these land use boards, the consultant comes in that day with revisions. And if I'm sitting there wherever, I may not be able to, A, receive it, and B, I may not be able to see it if I'm doing remote participation. So I would like to see us continue the discussion. I don't want us to delay it till after town meeting. I would like to see us come up as members with some ideas, submit them to Sharon maybe a month from now or our second meeting in October, and let's all put some skin in the game and see what we can agree or not agree to.
Mrs. Goodrich.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So just to follow up on Mr. Carpenter's comments, you know, I agree. I'm especially concerned with regulatory boards. I've said that. We recently, in our packet, had a drawing that we could not make out, and we had to ask for a new drawing that evening in hand. You know, it was emailed to us, and we couldn't make it out. But beside that, first of all, Mr. Carpenter made a motion, several weeks ago to ask for some research to be done on some conditions. That motion was voted on and approved. The research was done. I'm not saying that we have to do everything that, all other communities do, but clearly, putting conditions, I would find to be helpful. Mr. Simonian just mentioned that, a resident may say, hey, if I can join a committee and not have the pressure of maybe missing a couple meetings, throughout the year, I may put in for that meeting. Well, that's actually one of the conditions, that you can miss a couple meetings and participate remotely. I'm just not prepared to take a vote to authorize remote participation with no conditions, knowing that this vote is for all committees that we are taking. And again, I thank committee members for this, at least a second on my motion to just look at this and take a vote on this after we see what action is taken by town meeting on alternates. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Simonian.
Just a couple of things. I'm not saying we should approve a policy with no conditions. I would never do that. Mr. Carpenter made a great point, which is something I had wanted to get put out there. And so drawings, things of that nature. I mean, obviously, prior to putting a policy like this into effect, that would be the type of thing that I would expect members of this board to try to think of. Again, you cannot come up with every potential scenario, but the ones, from our experience, from our knowledge, that we say, hey, there's a really good chance this could happen. So, maybe the restriction is, 48 hours prior to the meeting, you test the ability for that person to participate from wherever they're going to participate. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. And then, you have 48 hours to contact the alternate. I mean, we do it all the time in companies that I've worked for. If we're going to have a video conference with the Tokyo office, we don't turn on the video equipment 5 minutes before the meeting and go, hey, there's not going to be any problems. We make sure that we test that. I mean, I would expect that, from a professional standpoint, we would, those are the kinds of things we would try to think of. Again, can't design for every scenario, but some of the basic things we absolutely can. And those, would be things that maybe we, to what you just said, Mr. Carpenter, make recommendations to a subcommittee. Hey, these are things I think might be fairly common issues that we definitely need to put into this policy. If someone can't see a drawing, it makes no sense, because now you've got however many other people, and we can't hold a meeting, and 4 other people showed up, and they wasted their time. I certainly don't want to do that. It can be designed to cover some scenarios, but it can't be designed to cover every scenario. And the point you made that we ask people about their commitments, valid point. The thing is, I guarantee you every single person that we've asked that of, at the time that question was asked, said, hey, right now, the way my life is, the way my schedule is, I don't foresee me missing any of these meetings. Monday nights work for me, Thursday nights work, whatever it is. And then, as we all know, life gets in the way, things happen, everyone has an emergency, an illness, something happens. Hey, I'm stuck out here, can you give me a lift? Sure, I can't make the meeting tonight. I don't want to leave my friends stranded out in the middle of nowhere. I mean, those, again,
Okay.
it is what it is, but those are some of the things we should think of and try to put into a policy, but not make it so restrictive that it doesn't even work.
And I think that one of the things you want to do, Mr. Simonian, is get a chance to review that again, because a lot of what you spoke of tonight, I remember from reading through that a lot of the concerns that you have are addressed in that policy, and again, we could revise that policy to see fit. Again, it's 1 year is not forever. We could probably go along and use it for something. But one of the concerns I have, you say that there are some violations, there are some penalties for doing that. Well, the violations and the penalties are one thing, but when you have regulatory boards where people coming forward looking for answers, a mistake is made, something isn't reviewed, something is interpreted properly because that person is not there on remote, well, yeah, we may have a penalty against the town, but those people have a penalty against them, because now if something goes into place and it's done wrong, they have to step back and correct themselves. It's time consuming and it is expensive. So these are some of the things that I have concerns over, but there is a motion on the floor for tabling this until after the town meeting, and I'll call for a vote.
I just would like to make one more comment. I don't disagree with your point, but let's be honest. We've had those issues arise without remote participation. We've had people make mistakes. We're all human. I don't think that remote participation is going to exacerbate that situation. I'm just saying, if somebody specifically uses it as a way to, finds a way to abuse it, absolutely, that person should be punished for whatever the law allows.
Okay.
That's what, and I would expect that, those people, we know some of them, some we don't, whatever it is. I would hope that every single person would volunteer for a committee or a board, regardless of regulatory or not, with the intention of being professional and not trying to do something that's going to harm the town.
Okay. So, thank you. So, Mr. Carpenter.
Just one last thing. I apologize, Mr. Chairman. I just wanted to ask Mrs. Goodrich if she would consider amending her motion to have this discussed, continue the discussion to our second meeting in October, so we can keep the ideas flowing. Take no action on it. I'm happy to take no action until after town meeting, but I would like us to continue to work on it so that we could be in a position to do something.
Would you change that, Mrs. Goodrich?
So actually, if we vote on this, then I'll make a second motion to include the proposed conditions, and I can write up, or somebody can write up what we discussed tonight as proposed revisions to the policy. So I'd
So
like
you
to just-
rescind your first motion?
No, take a vote on that to not take any action, meaning a vote,
Okay.
until after town meeting, and then I'll make a motion to have it as an agenda item for discussion
There's
and policy.
Been a motion made to vote on this
After town
after
meeting.
the town meeting. And that'll be probably our first, haven't got a calendar in front
I
of me.
want to tie us to that, just, you know,
Yeah.
as soon as
After town
possible
meeting,
after
yes.
town meeting.
So the motion's been made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Yeah, just one more point of discussion. I'll support it, but I would also, rather than continue to discuss it, Mr. Carpenter made a great point. We had the option on the table of referring it to the subcommittee, so I don't know. I think that if we sent it to the subcommittee and each of us thought about this and said, hey, here's one of my concerns, or here's 5 of my concerns, we could start that process of the subcommittee looking at each of the concerns and then potentially shortening the time that it comes back. I agree. It doesn't make any sense to take action on it till after we see what town meeting, whether town meeting support. Absolutely valid. But if we could start that process, and it's because it seems like we all have some concerns, we all have some thoughts on this, and why not just start giving them to a subcommittee now? Either way,
Mrs. Goodrich.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So yeah, I would agree with you that we take what members have recommended for suggestions and then take it to the subcommittee. But I think so that we're not in violation of open meeting law. If we have members submitting them privately to the subcommittee, we may be in violation of open meeting law. So it's probably best to put this on the agenda for the next meeting, have people review the policy, they're ready for their recommendations, and then we'll take those and take it back to the subcommittee and have it ready for right after town meeting.
I don't disagree. So I'm gonna put this out to the board because right now potentially there's a very good chance I will be gone on a business trip, miss both of our meetings in October. So if we choose to do that, is the board okay with me sending any recommendations to Sharon to pass on to a subcommittee? I won't be able to bring them right to the board if I'm not here, but I would like to.
Mrs. Goodrich.
Thank you. I think it would be best to send them to Sharon to put in our packets.
That's fine.
That way, it's not, because if you send them to the subcommittee, that's 3 members deliberating on a matter.
That's fine.
So
I have no problem with that.
So I would have Mrs. Simonian put them in our packet. So again, I would make a motion that we make this an agenda item for our next meeting, include the document that Mr. Simonian has tonight regarding the recommended conditions be placed on it, and also have members either prepared for additional conditions or send them to Sharon by email.
Okay, that's fine.
I will second that.
Okay. Sharon, are you ready? Okay, does everybody understand the motion in front of us? Any other further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Thank you. Okay. Next, we have on Board of Selectmen general items, we have gift acceptances. The Police Department from Charlotte Sabagonis for $20.
Motion to accept with gratitude.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? And also, we have another one to the Auburn Animal Shelter in memory of Matt Jacobson for $25, anonymous.
Motion to accept with gratitude.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. We have no proclamations in front of us tonight. Under 5E, the John E. and Ethel E. Riley Outstanding Citizenship Selection Committee vote on appointment of an Auburn resident member of the press. And it's amazing that it's now October, and that's coming up for Thanksgiving, which is in a month, and I don't even want to say it.
Don't say
It's
it.
moving so fast. But we have that in front of us tonight, and I'll, Mr. Carpenter.
Mr. Chairman, I would make a motion that we appoint Mr. John Anderson of the Auburn Daily for the press representative.
Second that.
And second? So the motion been made and seconded for Mr. Anderson to be their representative. Any comments, questions? Mrs. Goodrich?
Thank you. I'll just comment that that it does have to be an Auburn resident. That's why the telegram can't be considered.
Okay. Is there any other concerns, questions, comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
I'm abstaining from the vote.
Okay. 4 in favor, 1 abstention. Is there a reason for your abstention, Mr. Simonia?
Nothing needs to be discussed publicly.
Very well. We have no tabled items in front of us tonight. Yeah, we got to go back to the town manager items. Sorry, I just skipped by that. The Central Mass Regional Energy Fair on October 3rd, 2015.
That's right. I just wanted to make sure everyone had in their packets, and we have been announcing this, that the Energy Fair, I brought up at the last meeting, excuse me, and it is this Saturday, October 3rd, from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. Thank you. And it will be held at Millbury Junior Senior High School, and there are a lot of different things going on. There's live music, there's raffles, there's all kinds of information, topics for discussion on energy savings, energy audits, demos of hybrid and electric cars. And the impetus for this was our energy manager, Eric Lesperance, getting together with other energy managers at in Millbury and Sutton, and trying to put something like this together that would benefit all 3 communities. So it's a nice regional effort. That is the reason it is being held in Millbury. It's a regional effort, and the 3 communities have worked great together. They did put together a group that I mentioned last time, not an appointed committee, just a group of interested people who have been working on this, and they did, the non-appointed members of the group went out and did find some companies to sponsor this event for them as well. So, great event, a lot of things going on. If you have any questions, let us know. It's a type of thing you can bring your children to. It's family-friendly, this face painting and pumpkin painting, food vendors, and all of that. So I just wanted to mention this again.
Thank you. We have no tabled items tonight. There's no Board of Selectmen member items.
Mr. Chairman, may I ask a question on that? I know that we voted to approve the warrant. Do we need to sign that tonight? And if we don't have it,
copies to
we have copies to sign tonight. Some members need to sign before they leave tonight.
Okay.
All right, I just wanted to check on that before we adjourned.
All right, that's great.
Thank you.
Thank you. And is there any public comment? Being none, I'll ask the town manager if she has anything else.
I'm all set, thank you.
Is any of the board members got anything else? Mr. Carpenter?
I just wanted to mention that I wanted to thank everybody for doing that. I'll be in training, so I won't be able to attend, but I know it'll be a great event, and maybe next year I'll be available to see it, so.
Through the chair, it's probably a good opportunity for me to just remind the board that when we put together the municipal aggregation plan, part of our plan was to set aside some funding for future energy manager funding. So this grant will ultimately expire, but through the municipal aggregation plan, once we start moving forward with that, we've identified a source of funding for the energy manager who can continue to bring great programs like this to the residents to learn how to save energy, save costs, save money, and become more green.
Okay. Thank you. Okay. We have minutes in front of us tonight from March 23rd, 2015, and from March 30th, 2015. Is there any errors? Yes, Mrs. Brotherton.
Yes, Mr. Chair. I noticed on the March 30th, on the second page, second up, page 3, second up, that however you are now chair, you made a motion by Mr. Holstrom, and you seconded also.
And where was this?
Second up on page 3,
On page
Mr. Chair,
3?
March 30th. Well, it's the second page, it's numbered page 3.
Okay.
Second up from the bottom.
Got it?
Yeah, I'll check it.
We'll check into that.
I'll check
Okay.
it. Pretty good.
Okay.
Thank you.
So we'll hold that one until we get a correction on that one. And thank you for being sharp with that. So we will hold that until our next meeting.
Doesn't happen often, Mr. Chair.
Okay, so we have the March 23rd. Is there any comments on the March 23rd minutes? Okay, I'll accept them as presented. And on that note,
Motion to adjourn?
Second.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Thank you. Good night.